Alrighty, my name is Danner Smith, and I will be presenting on Alexios Komnenos. So, for the introduction, Alexios was an important Byzantine emperor whose actions played a crucial role in the stability and safety of the empire. His actions left behind a result that would long outlive him. In the time before he was born, the empire had gone through a lot of turmoil, and in 1025, Basil II reigned and made vital moves to strengthen the empire, and he conquered Bulgaria, and he was the last emperor of the Macedonian dynasty. However, when he died, a period of weak emperors came in, and the empire declined significantly. Alexios, born in 1048 to a very powerful family, the Komnenos family, who were military aristocrats, he followed in these footsteps and began service in the military as a higher-ranking individual, overseeing strategy and troops. He increased his reputation and was skilled and effective as a general and a leader. As he became renowned for his skills, Byzantium continued to decline and became a less stable nation. In 1070, the Battle of Manzikert occurred, where the Turks dominated the Byzantines, leading them to lose Anatolia and leading to the capture of the emperor Romanos Diogenes. Byzantine generals began fighting each other because of all this loss and failed to continue resistance against the Turks. More political instability followed, as emperors attempted but failed to grasp and maintain the throne. In a 10-year period, 3 different emperors took power, and all of them proved to be weak, ineffective, or even old. Some of them were simply just incapable of improving the situation of the empire, and even lost territory. Regardless of this decline, Alexios' rise continued, and he continued to grow significantly more fame. He later led multiple campaigns against the Turks under Emperor Michael, and he reclaimed parts of Anatolia. The continuous fighting of the Byzantines weakened the efforts, but it didn't take away what he was doing. A battle against the Normans allowed Alexios the ability to further prove himself and defend the empire, earning trust. In 1080, an opening to obtain power arose, and the current emperor was unpopular and old. Secretly, the Komnenos family was going around gaining support from the noble families and other aristocrats, and they worked inside the court, specifically his mother, to weaken the emperor in his efforts. The army and aristocracy became extremely unhappy with his rule and backed Alexios as becoming a future leader. After being sent to fight the Turks, Alexios took his army and turned around and marched back to overthrow the emperor. His forces and other allies snuck in and helped him seize the crown, and they later forced the previous emperor to go into hiding and become a monk. With Alexios now as emperor, surrounding groups did not ease up. Specifically, the Norman groups, shortly after he became emperor, invaded. The Normans defeated his forces and took Dyrrhachium. The Byzantines found naval support and successfully held off the Normans after this and pushed them back. Less than 10 years later, in 1091, the Pechenegs attempted to invade. However, Alexios made an alliance with a nomadic group and fought back, destroying enemy forces. All the while, the Turks are in the process of retaking parts of Anatolia, causing Alexius to have to look west to the Holy Roman Empire for aid. Alexius played an extremely critical role in the First Crusade, requesting help moving west to the Pope. He asked for mercenaries and assistance in reclaiming lands from the Turks. This led to the Pope, however, changing the mission, at least to him, and calling for a reclaim of the Holy Land, aka a holy war. This brought much of the Western Knights and commoners over to Constantinople, and the first wave arrived in 1096. They were quickly ferried across by Alexius. However, this first wave was massacred extremely quickly due to their unskilled, untrained, and just overall messy approach. The second wave, however, was led by much more powerful lords like Bohemond and others. Alexius was scared of what they actually intended, so he made them swear oaths of loyalty, promising to return any captured Byzantine cities back to him. In 1097, the Crusaders sieged Nicaea, which is the capital of Anatolia. Alexius negotiated a surrender and ensured the city would peacefully be returned to Byzantine control. However, this was extremely frustrating to the Crusaders, who were denied the chance to plunder and take what they wanted. Then, the Turks were later defeated at the Battle of Dorylaeum, which allowed Alexius to send troops to reclaim all the cities in Anatolia that he needed. A major dispute arose shortly following this. The Crusaders struggled under siege, and Alexius had been marching to support them, but retreated after hearing incorrect reports of their defeat. Bohemond saw this as an extreme betrayal, and instead of handing the territory back, he took it for himself and created an independent state. Regardless of this, the Crusaders continued on and captured Jerusalem in 1099. But Alexius didn't receive any of the newly conquered territories, even though the oath had been made. The Western Knights established their own Crusader states. This led to many conflicts between Byzantium and the Crusaders, especially Bohemond, who later invaded Byzantine lands in 1104, and Alexius defeated him and forced Bohemond to sign the Treaty of Devoll. This made him a vassal for Byzantine. However, he didn't necessarily follow this oath. The Battle of Philomelion in 1116 was one of the final conflicts that Alexios had as emperor. It was between the Byzantine Empire and the Turks. The Turks had a history of fighting the Byzantines and successfully claiming parts of their land. This was an effort to reclaim territory of Anatolia that the Turks had previously took. This campaign was launched deep into the controlled land of the Turks. The Byzantines lured the enemy into the area of the Philomelion, or what would be modern Turkey, and the Byzantines took a defensive formation. This caused the Turkish cavalry to not be effective, and after suffering extremely heavy loss, the Turks had to retreat and left part of Anatolia. However, this didn't give Byzantine all of Anatolia back. The Turks took a temporary peace treaty with the Byzantine Empire due to this. This was an extremely rare win for the Byzantines, but it did not result in the full reclamation of all of Anatolia, and this was the last and final war of Alexios as emperor. Throughout Alexius' rule, he also reformed many laws, and he reformed the tax system that the Byzantines used. He even introduced a new currency. He also dealt with heresies and tensions with the papacy. He died in 1118 after being ill for quite a long time. His son, John Komnenos, took the throne. In conclusion, Alexius rose to power in a time of need through the help of his family and other noble families, as well as his military prowess. Through his rule, he restored the Byzantines' military strength, power, as well as being a key player in the starting of the Crusades. As a whole, he revived an entire empire and restored it to glory and power, leaving a lasting legacy behind.